We're back in InDesign Basic Training videos, and in this video we want to take a look at the Tools panel and a little bit more about our interface. Okay, so right now I have the Creative Cloud version. These work similarly for this and the earlier versions, where you can see here if I click and I drag this whole thing around, it is all enclosed in a box, sort of. And to do that, if you don't see this, then you might be seeing it without the application frame. Okay, so I'm going to turn this kind of off. And so you see all of the menus and panels and everything are from side to side and fully extended out from left to right, top to bottom, without, and I can see the information in back of it because I don't have a document showing. So this does not move even if I click and drag here. So if you want to be able to expand or contract this application just all in one frame, then you would go to the drop-down window menu and turn on application frame. Okay, and so what that does is, let's see, I've got the same thing going. This is InDesign, and I could make this shorter, okay, and move this whole application around. Now, to get away from my start menu, okay, to the top right hand side, I'm going to click on Essentials for now. This is my workspace, and it'll get us away from our start menu. In the earlier version of InDesign, this is CS6, and it's just a matter of getting rid of or clicking closed the welcome screen. Okay, so I'm going to put that away, and we'll go back to the Creative Cloud version. Okay, let's close that out. I want to take a look at the Tools menu and the different parts to it, and you'll notice that to the left-hand side we have a Tools panel, and I have a picture here. This is the InDesign Tools, and there's different sections of it. And so you'll notice that in between each little section, just like any of the other Adobe products, in the Tools panel, you'll have these little bars across. So there are different parts to it. First of all, there is, let me pull this out here, there's your Selections panel, or Tools. You'll have Selection and Direct Selection tools. And one of the things also, if you've worked with Adobe Illustrator, the InDesign interface and tools are very similar to it. So you'll have a Selection and Direct Selection tool. We'll have a Page tool, which you can change landscape, portrait, or change the size of your document. We have a Gap tool, which deals with columns and the gap in between. We have a Content Collector tool, which is a little bit more advanced, and with working with documents, we pull information into InDesign, and so that is what that's for, although I've hardly worked with it quite yet. The next area here is our Drawing and Type tools, and we have the Text tool here. Okay, and you'll notice that in the corner you'll see a little tiny arrow, and that means for the tool, if you click and hold down your mouse, there are more tools underneath. So it's worth it for you guys to explore on your own some of these tools. You may not know right away what they're for, but if you locate them, you'll see what's underneath. Okay, and if you don't see a tool as we're working, then you might want to explore underneath some of these here. This one happens to have a Type tool, and we can switch to Type on a path. Okay, and I can click back again to the other one. It's a toggle. All right, we have a Line tool, okay, and we have that which does line segments only, does not make a shape, only line segments. Pen tool, and again, if you hold down your mouse by clicking, And the pen tool is very much the same as any Adobe product. We have a pen tool, add anchor point tool, delete anchor point, and convert direction point tool. Okay, we also have a pencil, which you can draw freeform. We have a smooth tool and erase tool underneath. And then these two items here, the rectangle and rectangle frame tool. Okay, we have access to 3 shapes, and they have options for each. And I don't know if you noticed in the control panel up at the top, but every time I change a tool to something specific, it may change the control panel options here. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, now so the rectangle frame tool and the rectangle tool, one serves the purpose of having a shape that we can put something into. A frame tool, we contain text, color, or images. And once you put an image or text, they interact with or are kind of, in a way, separate from each other. One contains the other. Okay, and there are some controls to it. Now, as a designer, I've been working with InDesign since, well, probably 10 years ago, and before that, I worked with Adobe products, PageMaker. I worked with Quark Express, and same kind of thing. You'll have a frame with page layout. You have a frame of some sort, and you put text or pictures inside of it. And so I really have not found a purpose for having the extra rectangle and shape tools. I mainly go to the frame tool because I can always put something into it, but that's just me. Okay, so we also have transformation tools in the next section. Scissors, we have free transform, and again there's more underneath here, rotate, scale, and shear tool. Free transform, then you can do a lot of different things such as perspective and also the rotate and scale. We have a way to manipulate our gradient. So there's, once you work with a gradient, you can put some controls on it. We also have a gradient feather tool so we can fade things out. And in the next section, modification and navigation, there's a note tool, and that's helpful because in print design or production, we're handing our piece over, or our design over to be produced, and those notes can be helpful, and also for people that are in your team that you're working with as well. The eyedropper tool and color theme is useful for bringing in your colors, and there's also a measure tool underneath because sometimes we need to fit some things, and that's useful in that way. Last but not least, in the navigation, we have a hand tool, and that pans around when we're zoomed in into our document so we can navigate around where we want to. We also have a zoom tool. There are many ways to do the same kinds of things, and as always, I'll add those. But the hand tool is useful, but I usually, instead of using that tool or clicking that tool, I usually use the Spacebar key. So temporarily, when I'm using any tool, I can hold down the Spacebar, except for if I'm in the text tool. Then I can hold that down and we can navigate the system. So we'll be doing that in future videos. Now the last part here, there's no name to it, but this has to do with the colors and the stroke and fill, and also the way we view our document. So this first little set here, this stroke and fill, depending on which you're trying to bring out, you can click on it to bring out the fill or the stroke depending on which color that you're trying to. Stroke and fill has to do with our object. So if you were using the rectangle tool or any of the objects here, and you can also do a stroke and fill on your text. If we wanted to reset it to the default, you can click on this little button here for the default, which is empty inside of the object, and then it has a black outline or stroke. But one more thing that we don't have in Illustrator that we do in InDesign is the container. Since we can put text and we can put imagery inside of the container, we want to get at the container itself for working with color for the stroke and fill. So you can format, you can click the button to format, which affects the container, or you can affect the text in that way too, and change the colors to it. So the type, stroke, and fill. Last but not least, well, we can apply whatever color that has been recently used, or a gradient. We can also apply a fill of none. And last but not least here, our document itself, how do we view it? Normal view, preview, bleed, slug, and presentation. And we will be getting into that in these subsequent videos. Okay, so basically that's a rundown of our tools, and in the next video we're going to create a new document.